Excited to see that at the New York World's Fair. So exciting. But then it went nowhere until FaceTime. But now we got this. It's great. Well, it's not the same as meeting in person, of course. Blumenfeld, president of NASJA. I'll be your moderator tonight. We've asked a select group of manufacturers to share with you what's newsworthy about their gear in 2022 and 23. This Zoom session will be recorded and distributed on the NASJA website, so everything here is on the record. I'd like to introduce Marie-Piere Belisle-Kennedy, who's NASJA vice president, and she'll moderate the Q&A. She's done a terrific job managing NASJA's social media, and she'll moderate the chat. So we'll take a few minutes after each presentation for questions. If you do have any questions, put those in the chat. Put it in the section below. You know, I played pickleball this morning. This is not to brag. I'm still whiffing into the net every game, but it occurred to me that all you need for pickleball is a ball, a paddle, a net, and court shoes. Usually any sneakers you have in the closet already. Certainly in terms of hard goods, there's not much to pickleball. But then again, it's pickleball, and I'd be hard-pressed to consider it a lifestyle. It's certainly not like skiing. Anyway, when we look back at hard goods, we've come a long way, and I'm someone who remembers Cubcos and Spademans and bamboo poles and pencil skis and lace-up boots and Henke's. Henke's motto was, "Are you still lacing while others are racing?" Question mark. Astral tunes and Boda bags. We've come a long way. Gear only gets better and better, which is why the NASJA board thought to host this quick 1-hour overview of gear for 22-23. And we recognize it's impossible to really do it with just 5 minutes each, but the objective here is to identify trends and have you pursue manufacturers directly as you prepare your coverage for 22-23 in the ski season. First up is Jackson Hogan. RealSkiers.com is dedicated to helping skiers find their perfect match. They do more than just rate the current crop of skis available on the US market. RealSkiers.com organizes reviews using a clear methodology that points the prospective ski buyer in the right direction. Here's Jackson. Jackson calls himself the Pontiff of Powder.
I'm sorry, I do not, the hat do not fit in a Zoom screen. You see,
well, he's here with his pontifications. He writes a free weekly newsletter that illuminates some corner of the ski world every week. Jackson.
Well, thank you, Geoff. Appreciate being here. Now, I understand the subject is what's new in ski technology, and not to throw a wet blanket on everything, but not a lot if we're just looking year to year to year. If you look over a broader span of time, you can see what every manufacturer's design plan is. If you dig deep enough, it will reveal itself as to which corner of their line they're likely to go to next year. And you could go through the top 15 suppliers in the US and easily say, well, this is the segment that's going to get renewed this year. This is the segment that's going to get renewed next year, and so on. Renewal doesn't mean that you're using all new technology. In fact, there isn't a whole lot of old new technology. It hasn't, graphene is the only new material we've seen enter skiing. Of course, the ski industry is way too tiny to create its own materials, but Johan Elias was brilliant enough to license it. I don't know why any other brand hasn't. I think anyone could if they wanted to open their wallet and become a licensee. But you might mention it because we're not in the business of creating whole new materials, and therefore we're not in the business of creating whole new technologies, generally speaking. That is definitely true going into this year. The category that has the most amount of turnover, representing new models, which in some cases represents new technology, and in other cases more commonly, it's an extension of an existing technology. I've lost my train of thought, just pulled into a station. We're not seeing right now a lot of turnover. I know my point was the biggest turnover is in the big mountain category. It's not even a first ski category. It should be a second ski category. And yet, if you just want to look on model turnover, that's where the turnover was. The other category that attracted the most new dollars in terms of new product wasn't an in-resort product. There are off-trail. The backcountry market is absolutely booming. I think way beyond its the settling point that it'll eventually arrive at when people discover that walking uphill is hard, not to mention dangerous. But that hasn't thrown any cold water on the development cycle. People are rapidly producing, trying to slice it as impossibly as they can. If you ski 1 run inbounds, but 4 runs out of bounds, get this model. If you're 2 runs inbounds, but 1 run out of bounds, you're on this model. They're trying to figure out a way to multiply as many models as they can in a burgeoning category. It's actually pretty smart marketing, except for the fact that it doesn't have the same ceiling as the in-resort market does. The backcountry market has grown exponentially, which isn't that hard to do when you're tiny to begin with. Where it ends up when Americans, who are not famous for taking up things like climbing to the top of a mountain, will finally realize that the lure of backcountry the reality is different than the allure, shall we put it. So that may cool off in due time, but it's not going to cool off this year. You're still going to see an enormous amount of new product infiltrating the backcountry market. And some of that is going to allege that it's also suitable to some degree or other inbounds. But still, it all is predicated on new snow. Boy, wouldn't we like to see new snow? But if we watch the news, we'll find out that the prospects of, other than maybe catastrophic new snow, the regularity of new snow that many of us grew up expecting, that era also seems to be over. So we're making a lot of fat skis for a condition which is not particularly abundant, certainly not to the middle class. You can say it's abundant to helicopter skiers, but now we're talking about people we can count on with just our fingers and toes. So I'd say new technology, no, we're in an era of slow but steady change. And yes, somebody may come up with a different way of stacking things, but just a different way of baking the pie doesn't necessarily qualify as a new technology. I'm sure there may be some smaller brands. Obviously, Bodie's made a lot of promotion about his peak ski. We'll see. I remain actually healthily skeptical, I think, especially based on Bodie's past talents in this arena, as opposed to the places where he's undisputably supreme, which is when he has a bib on running down a race course. So I'd say to those people who are writing about new product, let's realize that we're not in a period of sea change. The one thing that could change for the following year, not for this year, but for the year later, is European manufacturers reaped a windfall in the monetary exchange, being paid in dollars, which were suddenly worth 30% more. And that may give some people a chance to put a little extra juice behind their R&D, but they're still not going to make new materials, and they're unlikely to make totally new constructions. We seem to be in a place where people have somewhat leveled out, mastered what they know, and are moving incrementally to improve upon that, but not in a way that suddenly transforms the sport. We're not looking at suddenly a shape ski revolution or suddenly a fat ski revolution. We've been through those dimensional changes. That's I've teed the ball up. You may think I've teed a ball up and hit it out of bounds, but I put a ball in play anyway, which is, yeah, there'll be new things, but they're not burned down the house new.
Jackson, thanks so much. Was there a question for Jackson at all or not? I see one chat. Okay.
No, yet.
Well, Andrew Couperthwait, head is very much a family affair for me, located as they are here in Boulder. Andrew is here to talk about the Tyrolia protector binding, the only bilateral heel release in the industry. Then later, Phil Pugliese will also discuss bindings. Andrew.
Thanks, Geoff. I will try and be a little bit more positive than Jackson was. We're working on Alpine product as I do, and that's what I do for Head Tyrolia USA. I manage and work on the product line and the development of the product line for Head Tyrolia USA. We're actually pretty excited about some new product that we have launched for 22-23. And I'm going to spend my few minutes here with you guys today talking about one product in particular, and that is the knee binding. Or I can't believe I just said that. The protector binding.
Knee binding.
You have an erase button. Do you have a?
There's my. If I could reach my foot to my mouth, I would put it in there right now. No, the protector binding. And certainly, our biggest competitor is the knee binding in that sense. Geoff, I'm going to go ahead and share my screen.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. Still can't quite believe I just said that, but all right, let's start anew. So Protector series from Tyrolia, all new series for us. Before we get into the product itself, we need to understand the market a little bit. And when I mean market, I mean the ski injury market. And when we look at ski injuries, in particular, 34% of those injuries center around the knee joint. And regarding the knee joint, most of that pertains to soft tissue damage and ligament damage. The most common type of fall that we can characterize in regards to knee injuries is that backward twisting fall, also called the phantom foot or the slip catch fall. And that has some unique characteristics. It's usually the skier is off balance, moving towards the rear of the ski. The uphill arm is back. The hips are below the knees, causing a lever point with the boot. Uphill ski is unweighted. All the weight's on the inside edge of the downhill ski, and the upper body is facing the downhill ski. That's a generalization, but if you go through and you analyze these falls, these are some of the generalizations that you can easily come up with. In regards to that, and you look at the Tyrolia history of heel pieces, and when we talk about mitigating knee injury, it is really important to focus on the heel piece and not the toe piece. So when we look at standard heel vertical releases, which is what you'll see on the left-hand side of this slide, this is where most alpine bindings are at. And this is certainly where a lot of our bindings are at, whether it's our race free flex binding or our attack binding. When we look at what we introduced about 15 to 20 years ago, the diagonal heel, that created a binding that had a 150-degree release spectrum and allowed us to really protect the skier in forward twisting falls. But once again, that key element of backward twisting falls, which really is what results in those knee injuries, was not able to be addressed. Now in 2022 and 23, we are launching the Protector binding with full heel release technology, and that envelops a full 180-degree release spectrum, and most importantly, a pure lateral release spectrum. So how do we do that? We reduce the values in backward twisting falls due to the additional horizontal release on the heel. So that is the most important factor within this binding. This is predicated on really two movements or two mechanisms within the binding heel piece itself. And that first starts with 7 millimeters of bilateral travel. That allows the skier and the binding to absorb the small impacts that you will incur while making a normal turn on any variable type of terrain, and will give you elastic travel. It will give you recentering, and it will avoid pre-releasing, which a current binding, you can get into that situation pretty easily with. When the forces exceed the release values, i.e. exceed that DIN setting that you have set the binding to, then that 7 millimeters of travel will max itself out, and you will incorporate 30 degrees of rotation in the heel piece, and thus creating that pure lateral release mode. That really is the key. It's the 7 millimeters of travel plus the 30 degrees of release to the heel piece, and you come up with a FHR, or full heel release. When we look at what we can in concrete assume and know from this Protector binding, we can reduce with the Protector binding the forces on the tibia at the ASTM related test by more than 50%. We can also reduce the resulting force on the ACL and other ligaments by more than 50%. So this is a big deal when it comes to ski safety. This binding can also reduce and mitigate knee injuries significantly. All of this has been vetted by the University of Innsbruck. All of this is based upon ASTM and ISO standard testing. And we are also currently in the application of getting TÜV certification for this product. TÜV certification can take a little bit of time. So we hope to see that by next season. Looking at the line list, we have a full line list within the head offering, which is paired with our system head skis. And then we offer 3 different models within our Tyrolia offering as well. A Protector Attack, which uses the horizontal protector, or I should say attack toe. That is strictly a lateral release in the toe with a full 180-degree release in the heel. Then we have the Protector Power Rail 13 and Power Rail 11. Both of those bindings are grip walk and alpine compatible. I should note the Attack is multi-norm, meaning that it can accept all 3 boot soles. The Protector 13 and 11 both use a toe piece, an RX or an SX, I should say TX toe, which envelops 180-degree release in the spectrum of the toe piece, as well as the 180-degree release spectrum in the heel piece.
1 minute.
This is the setup of the binding. So those of you that might be asking questions about how this binding is set up, normal toe adjustment for DIN, normal heel adjustment for DIN as well. There's a third adjustment, which is the lateral heel adjustment. This is not a DIN setting, but is the actual mechanical setting for the lateral movement of the binding. This is designed to be mirrored of the vertical heel adjustment as far as the DIN. So if your DIN is 8 on the heel, your lateral heel adjustment would be 8 as well. Lastly, who is this product for? It's really for all skiers in a recreational environment. When we talk about beginners can benefit from this product, experts can benefit from this product. If you're a free skier, if you stick mostly to groomers, man, woman, women are 2 to 3 times more likely to injure their knees than men. Young, old, it also has a retail application as well as a rental application. So that is the Protector series from Head Tyroli.
Thank you, Andrew. MP, any questions?
We have a question coming to us from Mark at Ski du Northwest. As this is a new product that we haven't tested at large with the general public, what kind of reviews have you gotten, Andrew, on all the people during testing from your different demographics?
The most notable reviews that we have are that the ski binding skis like any of our other ski bindings, meaning that having this mechanism in the heel piece is not taking away from the performance. If you look at, let's say, our super shape ski that can be paired with a PRD 12 binding or a Protector 13 binding, the stand height is the same on either binding. The weight does increase on the Protector binding slightly, but the binding from a standpoint of performance, you really wouldn't be able to tell the difference if we were to blindfold you and send you out on the snow. Probably not the best idea in the world, but you wouldn't really be able to tell the difference between that. We have an ambassador over in Central Europe who is key to our company. We brought this product to him and we said, would you endorse this product for us, be an ambassador for us? He said, I will not be an ambassador until I ski on it and I know the performance is there and that I can ski on it with confidence. That ambassador happens to be Didier Couche, 5-time winner of the Honigcom. So we're pretty sure that the binding performs well if Didier is willing to ski on it on a daily basis.
Yeah, and Didier, we know he knows how to get out of bindings really fast.
Knows how to flip that ski, that's for sure. Yep.
The quick follow-up question was, would you ski, or could anybody ski, and I know the answer to this, but very aggressively off-piste? Depends on the DIN, of course, you know?
Absolutely. The DIN range right now is up to a 13. We build it with the Attack construction as well as with the PR 13 construction. I think overall safety, you're getting a little bit more safety out of the Power Rail 13 construction. But yes, I mean, I'm not getting any younger, but I still ski quite aggressively. Hopefully Geoff can attest to that. But I ski the product with tremendous faith and knowledge that I know that I will be retained when I should be retained, and I'll be released when I should be released. And you can see we've got a lot of different ambassadors that are endorsing the product as we speak on social media, on Facebook. I've also given Geoff a link to the new video that we just put out. It includes me in it on YouTube as well, so you can get more details from there, or you can certainly contact me through Geoff or Marie anytime.
And we have time for one more question.
One more question came from Mary Jo. She wants to know if it's technical, how do you communicate it right now to explain it to beginners or new to the sport? So it's not just about knee injury. We don't want to scare all the skiers, but you have a marketing approach that will simplify and
yeah, I mean, the marketing approach is easy. This is the safest binding we've ever produced. There are certain limitations to what you can say in marketing, but we know that this is the safest binding we've ever produced. When we look at studies of entry into the sport of skiing, one of the biggest resistors to entering in the sport is fear of injury. And this is a product that helps to mitigate that fear. So in my opinion, and in the shop employees I've talked to, this is an easy discussion at the ski wall. If you want another level of safety, there are no vertical release heel pieces on the market. And you can check the literature in those boxes that can address the knee. It's just not possible. It's part of physics. We know that. We have it in our vertical release heel pieces as well. And the literature is the same for those, just like it is with any other ski binding. And that is to protect the lower leg, but unfortunately cannot protect the knee. That is where this binding changes the game.
Thank you, Andrew.
Yeah. My
Great, moving
pleasure.
on. Geoff Curtis is here with us today. He's from Elevate Outdoor Collective. He's VP Marketing USA for Volkl, Dalbello, Marker. Volkl, by the way, just released a video called Beautiful Send, a love letter to all mountain skiing. It was shot at Davos to the music of Jethro Tull. I think it's terrific. You can see it on YouTube along with 60,000 other people who have viewed it. So sure, Arapahoe Basin is open, but it's going to be another month before corduroy and bump skiing will be back, like in this video. I can't wait to see it. Geoff, there you are.
Yeah, thanks, Geoff. Thanks everyone for being on the call. I think I'll speak a little more generally about some of the themes in our collections, but also just our approach. I think particularly with Volkl, the big interest for us, and it's interesting to hear Jackson mention technology and how perhaps there's not too much new that's happening. But I think the things that are happening with the application of materials, a ton of R&D goes into those things. And, as Jackson saw, in our facilities, I mean, it's a tremendous amount of, effort and energy that goes into making these, what technologies we do have, the continuing changes that we make to try to apply them differently and get things to work better for the end skier is a huge thing. And we really kept our foot on the gas with all three of our collections going through the last 2.5 years, where some product development was challenging. It was difficult to get out on the hill and do certain things. So we've continued to introduce new models in each of our three brands. And I know that when you're working through trying to speak to your audiences, the things that we're talking about that are new every year are not necessarily what's going to speak to your particular audience in your market. So, just know that we're always open to, helping you become informed, whether it's anything, from rental to children's products, women's products, whatever the story that you're trying to tell to your audiences. I think one of the things that each of our brands really offers is a complete collection that really can speak to a really wide variety of skiers. And that hasn't always been the case for Volkl. I mean, I think we enjoy that high performance reputation and the thought amongst skiers that this is a precision, high quality product. And we work every day to live up to that reputation. But we've also tried to make the line more accessible to a wider variety of skiers. And even within, models that have traditionally been for a higher level skier, like a Kendo 88, which we just introduced the new one for this coming season, which is really upon us in a lot of areas. We've added all of the technology that we have available to us to make this ski incredibly easy to handle, yet still please that super, super high level skier. So trying to open our collection up to more skiers is really important within our group of brands. And the same goes for Dalbello. I mean, we have here behind me the new Veloce 130. Of course, by far the biggest category within and certainly the most influential, both at retail and to the end consumer, is that medium width, all mountain 4-buckle ski boot. And Dalbello is known probably more so for our 3-buckle, what we call Cabrio technology, which is a 3-piece boot that certainly has its strengths, but the meat of the market is in that 4-buckle, 100 millimeter overlap boot. And, as Jackson says, not really a new category, but a very important category within our industry. So I would encourage you, if you're talking about what's new from suppliers, to take a look at that. And then, of course, Marker, being that big brand within the industry, covering everything from kids to racing, and just about everything in between. The important message for me to you is, whatever your audiences are pursuing, and in different markets, those are different things. We'd love to talk to you, and that's one of the reasons we wanted to come back and join the organization, is to just be available, to just be a resource for you. So thank you.
Thanks. Any questions, MP?
General one this time. Thank you for presenting all of your line. I would summarize it like, of course, you would promote your products differently in Colorado than small mountains in the Midwest. So would you tailor your message and your skis throughout the shops, the local reps, or she's just asking, Mary Jo? I'm just going to summarize what you...
Yeah, well, there are numerous touch points, of course. I think the fact that this group is primarily media. I mean, media is a huge way, and as we know, like the consumer has, they do a lot of research online. I think they get a huge amount of their information is validated by you all. And so that's why we want to be a resource to just get you accurate information. We want to provide opportunities for you to ski on the products so that you can speak clearly and accurately about the products. And then I think the other place that's probably underserved is that I think a lot of consumers get a lot of information about ski gear from one another. And that's a really interesting piece for me, and one that I think we can explore more. But we've always tried to affiliate ourselves with the skier on the hill who can speak to the product and help his friends or her friends learn more, get more excited about skiing. And so those are sort of the touch points that I wouldn't be here tonight if I didn't think that those were really important ones.
Well, thank you. And I don't see any more questions, but just a quick comment to you, because in the US, the Olympic and the World Cup event of ski cross is not as popular. But I wrote an article recently on Reese Howden, and he skis on a Volkl GS ski. So it's interesting because he's 6'4", heavy set, and that's the ski he chose. So I just wanted to let you know, because I know it's starting as a small market in the US.
Yeah, if you watch the ski cross events, through the various streaming opportunities, you do see a lot of Volkl out there, which is great.
Thank you.
Our next speaker is Phil Pugliese from Ski Talk, which is powered by pugski.com. It's managed under the stewardship of Phil and Tricia Pugliese, well-respected reviewers and product testers. Ski Talk was founded in 2015 and evolved from pugski.com's original tagline, Ski Talk at a higher level. Phil.
How we doing? Geoff, actually, could it be possible to get into the bigger screen on this? I've got some small little props that I'd like to use. And then the situation, I kind of changed midstream here. I had everything planned out to talk about Some value bindings for this coming year, and unfortunately, Geoff, the binding had,
No, go ahead. Go ahead and screen share.
okay, do I do screen share then? Well, actually,
Yeah.
I don't have props. I just need the bigger screen up here, but I'll work around it. So what we're seeing right now is a change in the industry that needs a lot of education to the consumer, and that is the addition of all of these new soles and boot binding interfaces, where we've always had for years our traditional DIN sole on all of our boots. The ISO 9355 sole dates back to the 1970s, and boots and bindings have always been that. In the past couple of years, we've seen the addition of grip walk as far as different sole, which is a little more of an articulated sole, it was brought up earlier. How do we make the sport easier for people coming into sport? That was one of the addition of grip walk. Their ISO numbers are 23223. Some of this you might need, some of it not, but to educate the consumer that their older equipment might not be compatible with this newer sole. And while it might click into the boots, they're not going to release properly. So an education process to the people, if they're buying new equipment, that it might not be compatible with their older equipment, and to let people know. And some of the boots, and Andrew, probably from you, and also from Jeff Curtis, that you do have backwards compatible soles that you can upgrade that boot with in that purchase process. But in talking to your readers, to let them know it's not the same old thing that we've had for years. And in that education process, I'm sorry, I might fumble through some of this because I really didn't have this prepared the way that I'm doing this. But we've got bindings, and we go back to a traditional AFD here, which is that flat AFD, which is fine for this sole. We're going to get smooth release here. The grip walk sole, while the boot might be able to come in here, it's going to jam in here. That binding is not going to release. They might think, oh, it shouldn't be a problem. It goes in easy. Not the case. So we need a type of AFD that is also articulated in shape that matches that boot better, so that this here is going to work better and get you a better interface for that binding releasing properly. Some bindings will have automatic adjustments for that AFD. Some of them will have a manual adjustment. And then we also get into multi-norm compatibility. And multi-norm, and Tyrolia has them on their bindings, Marker has it on theirs, and they also accommodate AT soles along with grip walk and our traditional DIN soles. And those tend to be a manual adjustment toe piece that needs to be checked properly by a certified technician to accommodate that. So you've got 3 different types of soles that we're seeing in boots, and to get the binding that's going to match them properly. And part of that is an education to let people know there are different types of bindings out there, different types of sole compatibility issues out there. So and in this process, while we've seen grip walk now for a couple of years, this is going to be going in an ongoing process down the road, and a continuing education process. I mean, we go out at any resort, it's not uncommon to see a 20-year-old Marker M31 or Solomon S900, or heck, even a Tyrolia 250D. So I mean, these are still out on the hill, and these people sometimes get a new boot, they don't realize that it's not compatible, and it's not going to release properly. It's not going to interact properly in that. So and then some of the bindings, and Andrew talked about that MNC, those are the ones you want to check that they accommodate all of the binding, all of the different types of soles. So you do have some opportunity there. If you're unsure, that accommodates everything. And then the one thing, I'm sure we might get some questions on this, but there's some questions on the protector from head. I spent a good amount of time on that binding last year. We've got it in our test fleet. The one thing I can say about that binding, when you ski it, you don't know you're skiing anything different. And if you've got it on a system ski that it is available, it skis just like that regular binding. I played around with it, and while you're supposed to match your lateral setting to your DIN setting on it, I cranked that all the way down. And somebody asked earlier, how is it for an aggressive skier? Skiing through some bumps and skiing smooth through the bumps, there was no risk of releasing laterally out of it. I did some lateral tests that it works well. If you're looking for an independent view on this binding, go to our YouTube channel and check out. We do have a protector review up there, so you can check out that. And also some of the skis that are available with that binding as a system binding, we talk about it on those skis also. But as far as to invest in your time in talking and educating your readers about these different type of soles, I think is inherently important.
So the grip walk will help you survive the parking lot.
Yes. And
Is that how it's sold?
Excuse me?
Is it sold because it's safer to walk through the parking lot?
Well, it tends to be a little bit softer material. It's also an articulated material, and let me find the matching heel to it, that we've got a little more shape here. So it's more of a rockered sole, which makes it a little bit easier to walk as compared to that flat sole. It's also a little bit softer of material. You still have your smooth area for that compacts your AFD, so you get a smoother release there. And the plus of that too is this is protected a little bit when in that walking stride, where on a traditional ISO DIN sole, 9355 sole, you are a little more susceptible to that getting scratched, and which also creates a little more resistance, so that binding doesn't release as smoothly as we'd hope to in some situations. We're also in an age when we're parking further away now, so that's where grip walk also is a nice addition.
Or parking at all.
Yeah.
Hey, Phil, if I could just interject just to reinforce what you said. One of the things that's key to this discussion is in 2022 and 23, all the ski binding manufacturers agreed to label their bindings in the same way. So all the nomenclature that's used, whether it's A for Alpine, grip walk with the grip walk logo, or MN for multi-norm, that is the nomenclature that's used, whether it's a Tyrolia binding, a marker binding, a Salomon binding, an attack binding, a look binding. So that's a big step in the right direction for the industry, because there was a lot of confusion.
That's a huge step. Yeah.
When this was launched. So it's not easy to get everyone to agree on one thing, but this is one area.
Just to reinforce that, this is and thank you, Phil, for what you just said, because it's an extremely important issue. People are putting incompatible systems together all the time now. In the year 2000, that was impossible. Every boot, every norm boot and every norm binding, everything agreed. That day is over. And Phil brought up another good point. It's not just the ski you're buying today, it's the one you got in your closet. It's the one you were going to use as your rock ski. It's the one you were going to use if your cousin came back and you had to once again equip him on something. Those combinations are high risk at this point in time, not because they're necessarily, quote, bad or going to fail, but because you don't know if they're bad or they're going to fail. We have enough of a problem that it's showing up in the accident statistics. The mid-tibia fracture is back, and it's back because of incompatibility.
I mean, we can't be in the lift line today in today's market and not look down and see incompatible boot binding combinations.
Any questions from chat?
Yeah, we've seen it all, I'm sure, with boot binding combination. And when you were talking about walking across the parking lot, I'm very grateful also for the boots who are in ski and walk mode. When you interviewed some companies, this is not just for one brand, is there a trend as touring increases? Is there a trend that some of us could use both, like an attack binding for Alpine as well, and to do both? And also there's a question on how to test. So I think you have to test bindings with skis, but if anybody wants to take the second
Yeah,
question.
there, on the multi-norm is what we're looking at that will accommodate that AT boot. And visually, you can see the AT boot. Andrew, correct me if I'm wrong on this, does not have the sliding device on it. ATs tend to have the gripping all the way through. Some might have it, but it's also a little bit thicker of a lug. And that's where a multi-norm binding, the MN, comes into play. The attack bindings, the royal bindings for marker, those are all multi-norm bindings that they'll accommodate these different types of soles. So, and then along with the grip off soles and along with the DIN soles. On a point that has come up on our site, people that, oh my God, it's going to change my ramp angle and how I feel on a ski. Not the case with the majority of the bindings out there, because the top of the binding, let me just grab one here. The top of the binding is static. So as long as that's static, you can add 5 inches to the bottom. It doesn't matter. Your delta is going to stay the same. The only time that you might run into a little bit of a problem and a little bit difference, but it's minutia, is with the Solomon, that the top of the binding adjusts up, the bottom of it's static, but you're talking, unless you're in a really short boot, you're going to notice a difference. 99% of the people are not going to notice that difference. But as far as your ski, the way it skis, there's no difference the way it skis.
Yeah. So
Thank you.
Mark-
We should move on.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's it? Okay.
Dave Simpson, you're up. He's worked for 20 years at Verde Brand Communications with a wide variety of ski and outdoor brands. He's a former journalist. He has lived in Jackson, Wyoming for more than 30 years, where he attempts to personally ski as much product as Verde represents as possible. He's going to present an overview on what's new from Rossignol, Dynastar, Lange, and Scarpa. Dave.
Nice to see everybody. Thanks for having me here. I'm going to share my screen here and show a few slides. Hopefully, can everybody see that?
Yep.
Oh, good. Okay, great. I'm going to attempt to blaze through some stuff here. There's a bunch of new stuff from all of these brands. And pardon me, these slides were developed with a little more detail in them, so I might move kind of fast, but want to hit a few highlights from all these brands. So one of the things that's a big discussion in the industry, of course, is sustainability. And some of you may have heard of the Essential Ski from Rossi. This is a pretty cool new offering from them. It's made with 62% recycled materials input into the ski. It's made to be kind of just a great all mountain ski that offers good skiability in a pretty wide range of conditions. But 62% input in recycled materials, 75% of the ski can be recycled. As you can see, again, a little more detail probably than we have time to just talk through here, but as you can see here, you know, the biggest piece of sustainability is the components that go into the ski. So really, Rossi's trying to lead the way forward here in you know, how can you take these materials and reuse them at the end of their life cycle? So that's a pretty exciting initiative that they're working on. The other big thing that's going on with Rossi is sort of the realignment of freeride in their program. And some of you may know that they introduced the Black Ops collection, I think 3 seasons ago. This is their sort of, you know, hard charging collection, all, you know, versatile skis. But it was a pretty big line, and really we had a lot of things under one hood here. So what's happening with this is we're really realigning Cinder and Rallybird to sort of be directional all mountain skis, and Black Ops is kind of more of the playful fun skis. And so you can see, sorry, I'm in the wrong direction. I'm gonna skip the technology slide, but we've got 4 skis in the Cinder line from the 90 up to the 106. Kind of a lot of technology going on in the 106. We've added new for this year, actually going back to the technology slide, a a carbon alloy matrix in the ski, which gives it a lot more power. And the women's line, that's the Rally Bird line. So we've got a women's equivalent. Those are all developed with Rossi's women athletes. I mentioned the Freeride Progressive collection. This is kind of a fun collection. So this is a collaboration with a lot of Rossi's athletes, Logan Peyote, Parker White, Tatum Minode, where they worked with an artist in Salt Lake City to develop fun top sheets for these skis that sort of reflects the playful nature of them. As I was talking about, these are more progressive skis, more playful, fun skis, kind of progressive side cut, a rocker with, you know, some camber underfoot, but more smeary, fun skis relative to the directional things that are going on with the Cinder and Rally Bird collection. So there we've got 10 skis, the 118, the 98, and the 92 in this line. And we've got the women's collection, the Tatum models 118 and 98 and 92 in that. We were talking touring a little bit earlier. Jackson was talking about the growth in this market. So certainly Rossi's playing here. We've got some new skis in this category with the Escaper series. So there's a whole range of skis. We won't get too into the weeds on that, but everything from, we're certainly seeing more of the uphill travel within resort. So we've got skis that are dedicated to that are more narrow. And as we get wider into mountain and free touring, we've got a collection kind of built around that. Again, I'm going to skip the technology slides because we don't have enough time to sort of dig into that. But everything from the 97 more in the, you know, sort of mountain touring arena down to 80 in the Escaper series. And we also have a women's component to that. In boots, Rossi's introducing what are the highest performance boots that they've ever had in their line for this year. That's the High Speed and Pure collection. High Speed being men's, women's being pure. There's some interesting technologies going on here. Again, kind of a lot going on with that slide. But one of the big things here is this, what they call generative grid design, which kind of optimizes material thicknesses in key zones to the boots where you want that. Kind of makes sense, but thinning out the boot walls where you want to shave weight and thickening them up where you need power. Something they're bringing into this line is dual core construction. So this is using two different materials co-molded together to, you know, again, sort of building on what we have with the generative grid design, stiffen the boot where you want it and have it be more flexible where you want flex in the boot. There's a dual core in the cuff as well. And one of the key features of this boot actually is that they've actually moved the pivot point on this boot a little bit forward. So this is 1.2 centimeters up and 1 centimeter forward, and that improves the flex point. This essentially allows you to be in a more powerful position to drive the ski a little bit more effectively. So that's a key feature of the High Speed and Pure boots. In the liner, there's a lot going on there too. You can see these cutouts, but basically they've designed a construction that allows thermoforming around like the ankle bone, metatarsals, and areas where you want that, and you have structure to the liner elsewhere to give you power in the boot. And you also, yeah, 1 minute. Okay. So I'm going to skip through. I'll probably just hit Rossi tonight with 1 minute, and skip Dynastar and Lange. I might also mention, so as Geoff said, I work with Scarpa. They've got a pretty interesting new boot coming to the market as well. Because we just had some conversation around grip walk. This is an interesting boot because it has the first, let me find this image, first grip walk sole on the market that has a full rubberized sole. It's actually TPU, not rubber, for durability reasons, but it's adhered to the sole. This is a super light boot. It's about a 1,450 gram boot. Yeah, this is just a super great feature. Obviously, with there is confusion in the binding market, as we were just talking about, but it also lends to versatility. And with this full rubberized sole, this is great for people who are working on their feet or recreational skiers who just want a little bit more purchase. Interesting story too with this boot is it's bringing in what Scarpa has been doing for years, which is a lot around plant-based plastics. So we're using Pebax RNU and Brillamid Bio. So plant plastics made with castor oil. So that's kind of a lot of tech. Maybe there's some questions.
No direct questions so far. We're just seeing the time roll along. So I'll save the few questions that are directed at all brands for the end.
Great. Thanks, everybody.
Next up is Eric Henderson, who we all like to call Hendy around here in Boulder. His Meteorite PR has worked in ski, outdoor, and action sport media for more than 2 decades. I've been to a few of his media events, and he's exceptionally responsive to the needs of snow sports communicators. Plus, he runs fun events. He'll talk about Cardo Outdoor, mountainFLOW, wax and poles, and sweet protection. Hendy.
Hey, thanks, Geoff, and thanks everyone for tuning in today. I'm gonna be probably less than 5 minutes because I got to go coach indoor soccer here at 6 o'clock. So I'm putting my cleats on underneath the screen here as we're talking about it. We're gonna cover 3 subjects today. Jackson, I do want to follow up with you about your opening statements around new products that are coming into the market. I think you and I could have a good conversation about that and bring in some of the players like Cooper and everybody else on the call here.
I was thinking specific about skis.
Yeah, for sure. So the first product I want to talk about today is from mountainFLOW Eco Wax. I think everybody is familiar with mountainFLOW Eco Wax. If you're not, it's the first plant-based ski wax on the market. It's 100% petroleum free. They have an all-purpose wax, and they also have a race wax that are now selling both at wholesale as well as B2C. They're B Corp certified product. They're available at REI. They were ahead of the curve in terms of FIS racing with their petroleum-free race wax, and really sort of set the industry apart with 100% plant-based ski wax. Think of it this way: every time you make a ski turn or you're on the slope, all of the chemicals, those forever chemicals, are like a deck of cards. Every deck of card will go into the snowpack itself, leaving residue actually into the snowpack, which then affects your water table. We could talk about ski wax, I think, for many, many hours over beers or whatnot. But one of the things that I want to launch with you all today, first time, just launched last week. They are bringing a 775 100% recycled ski pole to market. These are available now in 3 different styles, going from price range of their demo pole, which is being sold now in the Front Range as well as in the Pacific Northwest at $60 for a pair. 100% recycled aluminum, 775 for this style. They have a Pro model, 100% recycled aluminum, 75% recycled post-consumer plastic in the basket itself, 100% recycled polyurethane in the grip, and then my favorite one is the 100% with the recycled cork wine grips as well, available now. You must be wondering a little bit about strength and sort of aluminums themselves, quite durable in terms of their performance and the ability to bend. So new for mountainFLOW is 3 different styles of ski poles with 100% recycled aluminum, all of which are available to NASJA members. After this call, if you want to email me directly and like to receive a pair of poles in your correct size for demo, for review, or just to share with your friends, please contact me directly and we can ship them out this week or early next week for your review and testing. Another product that's really exciting for me this year, and it's really quite new, I think, for the industry at large, is the Cardo Talk Outdoor. And the Cardo Outdoor system ultimately allows friends, coaches, instructors, and or families to communicate with themselves with a mesh communication system. So this is not Bluetooth, but this is a mesh communication system that allows each unit up to 15 to act as their own repeaters. So ultimately, if I'm speaking with Phil, who's at the base, and Geoff is at mid, and Mike Roth is on the top, we're able to communicate each other by creating this mesh system. If Mike goes into the bathroom and goes into the lodge and then comes back out, he will instantly be joined back into the system itself. Very few of us are used to communicating while we're actually skiing. We usually save that for the chairlift and or the bar. But in this particular case, for coaches and or families and or groups of friends like us, if we were all together one day and we wanted to like communicate on the hill, it's really taking off quite well. We're working with PSIA. We're a supplier of the PSIA instructor pool. We are now working with Eldora and their race alert program, as well as the collegiate snowboard and ski program at the collegiate level with Megan Majinski and her group over there. So the Cardo Outdoor system is really simple. You can use your basic headphones from your iPhone if you wanted to snap it right in there. But it also comes with a small wireless mic here that goes to your chin strap. These go into your helmet system here. It runs back into it. And it just connects to the Y yoke on the side of your helmet, coming in 4 different colorways: black, an orange, a yellow, and a blue. So if you want to customize it, you can. Again, I have these available today. We just launched them about a month ago. This is a brand new unit for this fall. If you're interested in trying these units for review and or for, you know, sharing in gift guides or whatnot, we do have units available as well in the Cardo Outdoor unit. Again, communication in the ski system has really predominantly been based on yelling at your students or following behind them while you're trying to give them real live feedback. A lot of us came from the background of, you know, old VHS tapes or video on your phone and then looking at the tapes. In the instruction world, this I feel is going to be a dominant force and tool in order to be able to give live feedback about articulation, angulation, and performance on hill. I'm sure that there's still going to be videotape out there. Cardo comes from the motorcycle world. They have proven technology in terms of motorcycle communications. They're the leader in motorcycle communication. So they've just taken that wind resistance and wireless mesh system and put it into a 100% waterproof based system. Anyone that mountain bikes here or kayaks, because it hasn't really been snowing yet, we've been testing them on our bikes and on our sweep protection biking or paddling helmets, and they work really well just on a gravel ride, mountain bike ride, or on the river, because you've got this leapfrog ability. I can see a lot of faces and people kind of like taking all this information in. The Cardo system is definitely something that is one of those like, I never really thought about that, but it definitely has a huge application on it. The last thing I want to share with you before I got to go run around with a bunch of 9-year-olds on the field is we also do work with sweep protection helmets and optics. Sweep protection, you know, was based in Norway. And if you're not familiar with them, they were a bunch of renegade Norwegians when skateboarding was illegal. They were building skateboard ramps in the small hills of Trysil. And ultimately their parents were like, you can keep skateboarding, but you need to build protection. And so they got into making helmets for rivers, snow, and now bike. Because there's proximity to MIPS, they're a strong partner of MIPS. They're the first to bring in the 2VI technology, so the 2-layer MIPS for not only rotational, but forward and lateral rotation impact. Not only award-winning helmets, but definitely leading the charge in ski racing with Axel, as well as we have a new US athlete that we'll be announcing next week. Folks on this call and on this list will get that press release right away before Birds of Prey, but we do have a podium potential with the new US athlete. Because I've got 2 minutes, actually I've got like 1 minute, I'm gonna stop there. If there's any quick questions, I'd love to take them. If not, we can follow up online.
I'm going to follow up online with you. I don't want you to let the kids run. And it's Cardo Mesh, and we can publish your email, or you want to keep it private just for our members.
Publish away. You can share my information anywhere, text, Instagram, however you want to find me. Call me. I'm good on it all. Geoff knows that. And I'm sorry that I went last, but I usually could talk on forever, but I'm happy to be here, and thank you for including me.
Thanks, Andy. Good. Leki. Leki's our final manufacturer. before we get to Richie and Michael Roth. Back in 2007 or so, I received a pair of their Trigger S strapless ski poles, which fit neatly into trigger-ready gloves. And those poles of mine are still going strong, and I can't imagine skiing with pole straps again. Sven Brunso is based in Durango, and I'm glad he was able to join us at the last minute. Sven.
All right. Thanks for having me. Appreciate it. I'll try and go through this as fast as I can here. All right. So anyway, our big news is really kind of an overall branding piece. Back in March of this year, we rebranded the company for the first time in 3 decades. So we've been around since 1948. Had a rebranding in the 80s, and then tried to freshen things up a little bit. So what you see right here is the new look logo. Something I wanted to go over real quick because it comes up. There are a lot of ways to say the brand name. So this is 4 possible answers. It can be Leki, 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 or Leki. So it's Leki. And we even have sales reps that are out there around the country that don't pronounce it the same way. So we answer to all names, but Leki, just like a body of water, is kind of what we go with. So there's the old logo on the left and kind of the new look logo, kind of streamlined on the right-hand side here. One thing that a lot of people don't know about Leki is 50% of our business actually is summer business. We have made trekking poles since 1984, started making poles for Reinhold Messner, doing Himalaya ascents. And even to this point, half of our business is trail running and trekking poles. And then the other half is made up of the winter side, which is ski poles and ski gloves. And on the ski side, we have 75 different models of poles, everything from World Cup racing to ski-mo touring and alpine poles. If you watch the Olympics, there's no doubt that Leki is out there kind of dominating the race scene. And then gloves, that is a big surprise for people. We have 48 different models of gloves. And sometimes people think that our gloves are only part of this trigger system that Geoff alluded to earlier. And all of our gloves do have a trigger loop sewn in, so they work with the trigger system, but they're all very, very high-end gloves, 100% goat skin leather, go head-to-head with any glove out on the market, and it can be standalone. While we would love to have you use a Leki pole, it is not mandatory that you do so. And then we also are very big in the race protection, the shin guards, forearm guards. So here's a picture just of some of our gloves. This is a new collection we released last year called the Classics Collection, kind of a throwback to a vintage look, but with new high-tech Primaloft insulation and the goat skin leather. So check us out at leki.com, and we're definitely more about poles and gloves, but since poles and gloves are all we do, we tend to do it pretty well. This is the newest version of what Geoff mentioned, the trigger. This is the Trigger 3D. I'm not going to go into too many details here, but this allows for a 220-degree release using the trigger system. So on times when a pole wouldn't have released before, like a backwards fall, things like that, it now will release. So like the knee binding that Andrew was talking about, we're trying to find ways that are a little more secure. We don't like to use the word safe, but hopefully we're going in the right direction there, making something that performs really well, but also is user-friendly. All I'm going to talk about now is our touring poles. One of our big releases in the summer line this year was what's called the Ergon Air. And that was this hollow channeled pole grip, which is very strong and very lightweight. And so we continue that over into our touring line for this season. So you got the Ergon Air grip, which has a rubberized top on it, which makes it nice for and an extended foam grip on the touring poles. So if you're doing side hill and you don't want to get your arms, your uphill shoulder too sore, you can kind of move it down and use the approach grip, or you can put your palms on the top of the pole where there's a rubberized surface. And then this is another cool thing on our touring poles. It's this big mountain binding basket. has two sharp plastic edges, one to lift the climbing aids on your AT binding, and then the longer plastic piece is to get ice and snow buildup off your skins and top sheets. And here's just rolling that stuff all together. Here's what the Ergon Air Grip looks like, and just a couple of our new touring poles. We have the Bernina Light, which is technically a women's pole because the expansion range is 100 to 135, but it's the pole I ski in because I like the colorway of it. And there's nothing about it that makes it a women's pole other than the fact that they think the color might be a little more women conducive. But and then below that is another pole in our collection this year called the Sherpa FX Carbon, and that's a folding pole. So that would be one that would be maybe showcase pole for snowboarders or somebody that wanted to use ice tools and be able to fold up a pole and stick it in their backpack. So anyway, lots of new products, but yeah, the big thing is that Leki looks a little bit different and we've freshened up the look. The new logo is in all the racing, race protection and touring poles now. And then next season it will be on all the Alpine poles. There was just too many pole models to do it all at once, but you will start to see the new look when you go into the ski shop this fall. So thanks, appreciate your time.
Thank you so
Thank you,
much.
Sven.
Thank you. So we're just here to get Leki instead of getting Leki.
Great.
Play on word. So
If you only have one takeaway, that's good.
So no specific questions, Sven, but poles are very important, and the gloves as well, and everything you do. And I also love your family history and the women involved in Leki.
Yeah, we're on our third generation of ownership, all in the same family, and the last two heads of the company have been women. So it's pretty exciting. Great family to work for.
Thank
Great. You know, my dad owned a department store in the New York State Catskills, and he used to say that nothing matters except the ringing of a cash register. That was back when cash registers still rang, of course. My friend Richie Silver, a longtime NASJA press member, he works part-time at Ski and Sport in Westport and New Canaan. I asked him what trends he's noticing at retail, overcoming barriers to new skiers, and the importance for skiers to have a relationship with the ski shop. Richie.
Hi there. Hi, everyone. I'll make my remarks pretty brief. I know we're running late. When I'm not out there out there skiing and doing features for our magazines, I am working at the ski shop, and it's a suburban shop, not on the mountain. And we tend to focus on outfitting the entire family, particularly new skiers and young families. We do a tremendous amount of seasonal rentals, especially for young families, and also for parents re-entering the sport. We try to explain to most folks how important it is to have a relationship with a ski shop if you're going to be a skiing family. You know, the internet is great, but strictly transactional. Our goal is to create lifelong skiers, parents as well as their kids, and we try to convert the parents from rentals to owning equipment. And the barriers that come up most often are, of course, skiing is expensive, it's cold, and the equipment is uncomfortable. And apropos to what everyone was saying today, the latest equipment is much more user-friendly. And particularly what I want to talk about are system skis, which Geoff talked a little bit about. Volkl has their Flare and the Deacon lines, and Rossignol has the Experience line. System skis are obviously the ones that come with bindings, much more reasonably priced, much more applicable to newer skiers, frontside skiers. All skis are much easier to turn, but particularly these. And there are less decisions involved at retail when you don't have to worry about bindings. We, as more experienced skiers, tend to worry about a lot of that stuff, as we should, wider skis and bindings and technical stuff, where the new skiers are not only not as concerned, they're just trying to get out on the hill with their kids. So we try to make it as easy as possible. Something that's happening at retail also with that group, believe it or not, color and top sheet is probably more important than it should be, more important than it might be to this group here, but really important to new skiers and skiers and family skiers. As I said, all the ski companies are making reasonably priced system skis. As I mentioned, Rossignol, Volkl, Dynastar, Blizzard, and K2, of course, as well. And the K2 Alliance is really interesting. It's a they have a women's specific program contributing to breast cancer awareness. So at retail, that's just another point that we could approach customers about. And if you look for the pink ribbon on their skis and boots, that's they contribute to breast cancer awareness, and that's a nice selling feature for us. And then the most important piece of equipment we like to say, and I think to be true, are boots. And boots are much friendlier now than they used to be, particularly for that group that I'm talking about. They're much warmer and lighter and more comfortable. Everyone has a story about their uncomfortable boots and how they were so miserable. Well, these boots are lighter. And my technique when I'm at the store is I hand someone a boot and I say, pick up this boot. And they can't believe it. They're used to older boots if they're getting back into skiing from years ago, and their boots were heavy and so on and so on. And this is just a great selling tool, and to get people back into skiing. Also, Geoff had asked me about some of the things that are really selling or popular or hot at retail, hot being an apropos word, because we're selling a lot of things to keep people warm. Heated boots, aftermarket, as well as heated boots by the manufacturer. Aftermarket stuff like Hotronics and footbeds and heated socks are a huge thing now. They're expensive. They're $295. It's a lot of money. But in the suburban market, keeping warm is so important that we are selling a lot of heated socks. And all these items are controlled by Bluetooth, which is kind of a great thing. And so you can keep your feet nice and warm. It's just so important to new skiers get over the cold and uncomfortable barrier. And all this, of course, is to overcome the objections for this sport we all love. Apropos to some of the other conversations, there's no backcountry in this group. This is all frontside folks and a little bit off-piste. So we're trying to approach it to get more skiers, to get new skiers to ski with their family. And, so we're very specific about it in our stores. There's lots of places and we as well sell lots of more expensive skis, but our focus now is on this more entry level. A couple other things, we are informing people about the grip walk and the interface with bindings. And it is a very confusing thing to most people, particularly newer skiers or skiers that are getting back into it, I should say. And it's really important for all of us to alert people not to have things that don't interface together properly. And I also wanted to mention about Geoff's boot, the Veloce line in Dalbello. We're really selling it well at the stores. It's a 4-buckle boot. It's lighter. It's got a great look and great performance. And it's a boot that's, as Geoff mentioned, is part of their new initiative, and it's really selling well. And I think that's about it for me.
I think in the interest of time, we'll move on to our final presentation. That's with Mike Roth. He's the NASJA, longtime NASJA member. He represents NASJA to ExpertVoice for pro deals. Over 500 of the world's leading brands are on ExpertVoice. They want to build relationships with people who consumers trust for advice about what to buy. If you're an industry professional or a sales associate or an influencer who people turn to for advice, ExpertVoice is something you should sign up for. I would ask Mike to say a few words about how that program works, and then we'll wrap it up. And Mike, you're on mute, otherwise known as Mutt. You're on.
How's that? Is that better?
Much better.
Oh, much gooder. Okay. Geoff, you said it all, but we've been involved with ExpertVoice for probably the past probably 15 years. It's been growing and growing and growing. They basically have availability to all NASJA members. They do not have all 500 manufacturers available to all the members. It depends on the group. The manufacturers also sign up as to whether they want to offer you their discounted product that they have. They don't always have all the product that you might be interested in getting, but at the same time, you have to go online, check out their stuff. Sometimes they will give you a little information piece that you have to go through just to learn about their stuff, but they'd like for you at their discounted price to at least pass on the information in whatever venue you have, in our particular case, whether it be online or in print or whatever. They have all kinds of stuff. It's not just skiing. It is year-round product from skiing and boots and gloves and goggles to helmets, and then you can see kayaks and bicycles and all kinds of other stuff, some of which is available to NASJA members. The NASJA members have to sign up. It's on a yearly basis, and you'll get a renewal. My job basically is to, when I see a renewal come in, I have to make sure that you're still a NASJA member, and that's available to NASJA members, both corporate and press. And then I basically do the approval process. It has been successful for a number of people. There is a way of seeing who buys stuff, and I know people have used the program, and it continually changes. So in terms of the manufacturer, so I would suggest that if you are a member, you could look at the stuff. Sometimes it gets a little tedious to see what's available, but that's just the way their website is set up. I know that time is running short, so if you have not signed up, just go into their website and sign up, and I'll be able to see that you have. Okay, for all the members.
So
Thanks so much, Mike. And
Mike, quickly in the chat, I just want to say I have 4 or 5 saying people really appreciate ExpertVoice, so thank you for your time.
Good. And did you get through okay?
Yes, I did. I'm now.
Okay.
Thank you.
And I bought a pair of sunglasses from ExpertVoice. Thank you, everyone, for your time. We hope this was enlightening. Next year is NASJA's 60th anniversary, and watch for more details about that in the coming winter season. This recording will be posted to @NASJA Snow Media on Twitter and Facebook, and on our website, nasja.org. And for those manufacturers not currently corporate members of NASJA, we encourage you to support our work towards improving the professionalism of snow sports communications. So think snow, and we'll talk to you all soon. Thanks, guys.
Thanks, everybody. Bye-bye.
Thanks. Bye.
Thanks.